Welcome to Push Your Glasses Up. I'm Mikey.
And I'm Reena, and hi.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. We haven't talked in a long time.
No, it's been so
Our
long. I
clothes
miss your face.
show it. We're going to talk about Raya and the Last Dragon.
Yes.
So this was one of Disney's premiere access things on Disney Plus. We did not go to the movie theaters to do it.
Nope, not yet.
Even though I'm sure some folks did. I am not comfortable there yet. But
someday it's on the horizon. We'll be back.
Yeah. I really, really like this movie a lot.
Me too. And actually, it wasn't even me who did the premiere access. It was my sister for my niece. Because she thinks...
Well, it wasn't going to be you either way, because I told you could use mine.
I know. But, you know why, though? Which is adorable, is because my little niece thinks any character with dark hair is Auntie. So it was Auntie in The Last Dragon. And dragons are dinosaurs to her. So it was Auntie in The Last Dinosaur, which worked out really well.
That's supposed to be Denver. Denver, the last
dinosaur. Is that right, or did I just make that up?
No, that's right. You're fine.
Okay.
I'm reacting to you froze a little bit on the screen, so.
Oh no, I was like, I figured I froze, and I was like, oh my god, where did I just like have a glitch? My brain.
But yeah, I really liked it. Like, it's a fairly straightforward story. But the things about this movie that I loved is where Disney tends to do the hyper realistic movements most of the time and like trying to make everything look as real as possible. This felt as real as possible in a different way, where it felt kind of like it was stop motion.
It was beautiful. That felt like it was absolutely beautiful. The way that it looked, almost not that it wasn't hyper realistic, but almost like it was like made like not watercolor, but I don't know, the light and shadow work were just phenomenal.
So to me, that it felt like Disney met halfway with Leica, and like with the lighting on things, it went through certain things as if it was like a maquette. And then just the style of motion was like just a little bit stiff, so it gave it that little bit of like playing with like moving a doll a little bit. And it, oh man, I loved it. I loved that they went in that direction with it, and I don't even know if that's necessarily something they intended to do, because this entire movie was basically made during the pandemic. It was made at home for people. But
so even like the water,
it could have been a side effect from that. Yeah.
Even the way the water was animated was absolutely incredible. Speaking of, like, remember the big thing in the first Incredibles was how they figured out how to do wet hair, like, really well, and how they figured out how to make things look more realistic wet. It was like a big thing. Yeah. But this was just phenomenal.
Yeah.
When they're in the boat on the river, and when, like, the way that Sisu is, like, in and out, like...
Oh, yeah, when Sisu is underwater, and you see, like, the thousands of fish, like, spiral around her as if it's, like, a tunnel. It's, like, unbelievable. Just absolutely bonkers animation.
But even how they animated the rain, too. Rain coming down was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I like immediately had to second guess what I was seeing with like it looks like they pulled frames of animation out to make it look like stop motion. I had to like second guess myself, and actually went on Twitter and was like, is it just me or does it look like they did that? And a couple people were like, no, yeah, it absolutely, I saw that too. And I'm so happy they went that direction with it, because it was like, the traditional Disney style of like the super smooth movements is great, but there's just something about replicating stop motion that just hits so hard for me, because like I love how Leica movies look. I love like going back to Nightmare Before Christmas and stuff. Like there's something that just has a fluid movement where we put in the fluidity as opposed to all of the fluidity is on screen. So it's,
but the characters
I just
themselves are
adore it.
smoother than say like a Leica, which has like a lot more texture because it actually is a thing.
Yeah, like the actual character models themselves look like Disney models, but they move a little bit stiffer. And yeah, it's just that
And
choice is so good.
I think it was smart for this movie too, where this is like definitely like an original story in an original land. It's not like taking place in like, I don't know, like Europe. It's not like Castle Land, which is more traditional.
Most of Disney's at least the CG, like obviously they like all take place in an inspired by place, but most of the, at least the CG ones are like, you in Beauty and the Beast, obviously we never hear like this is France, but it's France. But like we don't actually hear.
After all, miss, this is France.
Oh yeah, that is true. But like in the CG ones, it's been like Arendelle, which isn't a real place, but it's inspired by a place, and
Hawaii.
Yeah, I don't know if is Moana actually reference specifically where they are.
No, and I think they only mention Maui as the god and not as an island.
Right. So, but most of the CG stuff has been like.
I know everyone on this island. Like, yeah, I don't know what the island.
Like Tangled as well. I don't think they say specifically like we're in a country. It's just like an area. So I think it falls in line with what they've been doing lately. But obviously, like the 2D animated stuff was all like, maybe not like Snow White, but like for the most part, you're like, oh yeah, we know what region they're in. Whereas these are like regions inspired by real regions.
Like Mulan was definitely China.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Princess and the Frog is New Orleans. We know that's New Orleans. Like that's yeah.
But I think, what makes it feel like a new place is like the characters that they introduced, like aside from just Raya.
Yeah.
But between like dragons and what is her little, what is his name? Her little hamster armadillo.
Tuk Tuk.
Tuk Tuk. Tuk Tuk is so cute.
It's Alan Tudyk again.
Oh, every time. He's Hey Hey.
Hey Hey is in this movie. He is in the market scene of this movie.
Oh my god, Hey Hey was my old apartment mascot. I have a screaming Hey Hey in my cabinet right now.
I lean Pua, even though Pua is not really in Moana very much. I still lean Pua a little more. But yeah, I like on top of just being the stunning animation, I think the performances are really good, and Kelly Marie Tran is outstanding in this. And on top of that, there's a moment that she did improvised in the booth, and it's the moment when she's kneeling by Sisu's, like before Sisu appears, and she like starts to cry a little bit. That was improvised. And that moment is outstanding. It is absolutely outstanding and more emotional than most other movies that Disney has made in the like CG era of movies. I would say only, not counting Coco because that's Pixar. I would say Moana's the only one that really has matched like what that moment kind of did. Just unbelievable. It worked so well for me. I cannot say enough good things about this movie.
I loved it. I loved the landscapes. I love how they like traveled through kind of worlds within worlds as they went to the different parts of the dragon and
Like
the different.
biomes, yeah.
Hmm. I thought that was stunning, and I liked her crew. I liked the
Yeah.
characters. I
I the
liked.
way they came together, like the way that the like it's hard to remember the character names because they breeze by it kind of quickly.
I'm
They
like,
do
there's
a
the
very
little kid.
specific introduction with the baby. You learn her
Hmm.
name, but like the connection between the guy that lost his family and his village, but you learn that he lost his baby, and then like
Hmm.
he connects with it worked so tremendously well. Um, and the fact that this entire movie was basically made during the pandemic is an absolute feat.
Hmm.
It's like so bonkers that they were able to get this to this level doing it mostly from home.
I mean, I feel like it looks even better. Am I wrong? Am I wrong that like I feel like it came out better?
I think it could be a happy accident for sure.
Hmm.
That it allowed people to play a little bit more with like, let's try this, because when you have an indefinite release date that keeps getting pushed, you can kind of play a little bit more because you don't have a set time frame that it needs to come out by, so you have a little bit more leeway. So I think that is probably what happened. Yeah.
Another thing I noticed that this wasn't a very musical number compared to say
It wasn't at
there's no
all.
singing
Yeah.
compared to like well
Um,
I didn't know initially if it would have that because of Moana and Frozen, but I
yeah.
liked that it didn't.
I don't know if I never saw anything where they necessarily intended it to not have songs. That could also be a side effect of how they had to do things. But if they intended it to have no songs, I think it worked out fine. It probably just would have been like 15 minutes longer.
Hmm.
Like, I don't know if it would have helped. It wouldn't have hurt it, but I don't think it would have necessarily helped it because I think it does work just fine being the story that it is without having to add anything else to it.
And maybe this like hit home more because of like the pandemic and everything, considering that basically a plague, a blight like sweeps
Yeah.
through. And then the team that she comes up with is comprised of children who literally had to pick up and carry on and figure out how to survive in the absence of their families. Like you see like the
Yeah.
baby with her monkey crew, and she's awesome. But like I mean, she was lost, and our little Captain Chef over there, his
Captain.
name I don't. But again, he had to figure out what to do in the absence of his family, and I thought that was like I don't know I like the development of that, and I liked the
Oh,
how.
the way that they tell you that the baby doesn't have a family with one of the monkeys just going
Hmm.
like with his hands, like, oh my god. That that was a much more brutal moment than I anticipated it being.
Because I think sometimes when you're talking like warriors and things like that, like Raya's or Namari, like you're thinking more royal. You're thinking that these things kind of affect more of their soldiers and their team. You don't think about like the actual people these things affect, and those were the people
Yeah.
that she was meeting. It was not necessarily the people from
The
these
Avengers problem.
yeah. It wasn't that she was meeting people from other tribes necessarily. Yeah, sure, she like ran into some, but it was more like this is what's happening to the people who live in these villages, who are
Yeah.
like outside of this whole, you know, like breakdown of communication and trust between the tribes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
I just
how that affects real people.
and it's like really interesting to see, like, the theme of this movie is it could have just been loss.
Mm-hmm.
Um but I like that they went more in the direction of betrayal and trust. I think that's a much bigger, like, we've seen loss as the theme of a Disney movie like dozens of times now. To the point where like Bambi is like a teaching tool for it.
Why can no one can ever have like, two parents? No one can ever have two parents. Like, she only has her dad.
The whole concept of showing that, like, yeah, somebody might have fucked you over hard, but it's still worth fixing that. Like, lesson learned after, like, they do it multiple times. Yes, obviously. But, like...
Okay, but again, they're young. So, like...
If it means something to you to remedy that, it's worth showing a little trust in somebody. And I just appreciate how that worked.
I liked how there was a juxtaposition of what trust means between Raya and Namaari. So for Raya, it was about forgiveness. And for Namaari, it was about overcoming pride. So they both had different... Because, like, Raya didn't do anything to her, right? But it was, like, the pride that she had, and she felt like it was her responsibility that she had to overcome to make everything work in the end. And Raya had to, you know, forgive for the broken trust. So they both had to come to the same middle ground, but in different ways. Although, I will say, I feel like Fang should have been held accountable for fucking shit up. Maybe not so much water under the bridge. At least her mom maybe should have, like, stepped down and let Namaari take over. There was, like, a lack of accountability I was a little, like, about, but...
Yeah. You're not wrong.
Like, you majorly fuck shit up.
and admit to being, in a selfish way, fucking shit up. So, yeah.
I feel like her mom should have, like... There was a little bit of a lack of a like, oh, well, now everything's great. And it's like, yeah, thanks to, like, these people over here to fix all your shit.
These ragamuffins and the large man that follows them around.
Right? You literally needed help from a baby.
Stealthy baby, though.
A very stealthy baby. Did you ever watch Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood?
I think Brotherhood is what I was watching a bit of, yeah.
Do you remember
watched it all, but...
When May is introduced? That's what I feel like the baby grows up to be her.
I literally only remember the name Alphonse.
Okay,
it was like 2014, and I was half-hearted watching it. It was like on in the background while I would do other stuff, so...
God, it's like, that was my gateway drug. That and Inuyasha.
Is Full Metal where the girl turns into the dog in that one episode?
We can't bring up Nina just out of the blue like that. It's one of those traumatizing...
You brought up the show!
But you brought up Nina! Oh my god.
Yeah, it's not out of the blue. You brought up the show.
But you go right into, like, one of the most devastating moments.
It's a memorable moment. It's one of the only things I remember. That's what they did the movie for, too, right, though? Like the live-action movie?
Yeah, they do a live-action for everything. I heard that one was pretty good. I didn't see it. But Tokyo Ghouls was good.
I fell asleep trying to watch it. So, don't worry about it. Yeah, anyway. The fact that... like, just the facial animations on, like, Sisu and stuff. I can't get over the performances are great, the story's great. I just can't get over how good the animation is on this movie. It blew me away. And, like, there's a lot of movies where you're like, yeah, I can see the face of the actor doing the thing, but it's like, you can see Awkwafina's face in this character, like, both in dragon and human form. Like, it doesn't matter which version they do. Like, that is straight up her performance in that phase.
Oh my god, I love her.
Absolutely phenomenal.
I absolutely love her. She's just so funny. She just is she just is like a naturally funny, like, not even trying funny kind of person.
Like the funny person you actually want around when the rest of the
Yes.
group is just normal people.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I just I don't even know if I have like a ton more to say about this movie. I just thought it wound up being absolutely phenomenal. I can tell you where it wound up, because this is another thing I keep track of, is a ranking of the different eras of Disney stuff. So I can bring up, I think I put it second, maybe third. So Moana's still number one for me. This is basically the last 10 movies, and it goes back to like the Winnie the Pooh movie and Princess and the Frog, but then from there on it's all CG. So it's like both Wreck-It Ralphs, both Frozen's, Tangled, Big Hero 6, Moana, Raya. It's very, when I put it up the other day, I have Frozen at number 2 and this at number 3. But that could change at any moment. This could very easily be number 2. I love, for Frozen 2, I love the art design and the colors they chose for like the autumnal feel of that movie. It's very, very good. And the songs in that movie are, I would say, better than the first Frozen by a long shot.
I'm trying not to, I can do Into the Unknown, but I can't do it quietly. So I will not grease you with that full belt, because that seems to be what screws up our video. It's like, don't let her sing. Don't do it.
But yeah, like this and Frozen 2, like depending on what day you ask me, I think they could switch spots depending on the day. Moana is still number 1 for me.
I love Moana. I love Moana so much.
But yeah, it's... Oh, I don't have Zootopia on here. Weird. I need to fix that. But
my niece actually will let me sing Moana to her, which is a big thing, because usually she goes, no. When other people sing. No. Do you want Auntie sing?
You're not the character, so...
She's like, do you want Auntie sing Moana? Yes. She says yes.
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 But yeah, I am absolutely thrilled with how this movie came out. I could not, like, eat above the live action Mulan. Like, if you want to watch this movie but don't want to go to the movie theater, like, spend the $30. 100% do that.
Also, I would have a figurine
or
of
wait
every
a
single
little
character.
while, I guess, but like, do it.
I just thought of that.
Yeah.
I would have a figurine, not a Funko Pop, but like a figure of like every single dragon in that movie, like every single character. Like, I want the full collection.
Yeah. Man.
I want it, and I want it tucked up.
I'll watch it again.
Mm-hmm.
You got anything else? I got nothing, because I keep just saying like I was blown away.
I mean, I don't know. The color palette I loved, because it was jewel tones and much more tropical because of where they are in Southeast Asia. Like, I just loved like everything about it. It was great. That's it.
Cool.
Oh, and well, I love Daniel Day Kim. So I liked him as her dad.
Yeah.
I thought he was a great dad. He was a nice dad, a peaceful dad. He taught her how to be like a strong fighter and like a good leader. Good life lessons, dad.
also, Wong from Doctor Strange plays the guy that lost his village.
Oh.
Now you hear it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I have no qualms saying spend the $30 on this. It's, I know it's a lot if you're the only person, but if you're sharing it with people in your like house, think of it as you're buying a movie ticket for everybody involved. It's fine. But yeah, I think that's probably gonna do it on this one.
Yep. Sounds good to me. I am
All right.
hungry. That's another thing. The food looked delicious in this film.
It did. It, like, you could see like the hot sauce separate into oil on top of this. Oh, so good.
Right? That's like Ghibli level food animation.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we'll leave it at that where we're starving now. Otherwise, we will see you later.